Hi there. It's I, Tom. Sans Galen at the moment because Galen is doing a holiday visit to go see family. And so I am here by myself today and I have endeavored to lay out the fragrances from the recent installment of the Lavender Kitchen. I am currently talking to only myself because no one has joined the live stream yet, which means if you are watching this in the future, you have me all to yourself. Just kidding, someone just joined right now. Greetings, you're the first. The first of, 10. Anyway, thought I would sit down with the Lavender Kitchen. I know Galen would like to be here for these, but we're gonna have so much to sniff by next week when he's back, and it just seemed like it made the most sense to go right on into it. I really wanted to sit down last night and do this on Christmas evening and just, have fellowship with all of the people who were trying to tune out from the holiday, because that was definitely me. But then I ultimately was sort of sucked into a nap, and then I realized I was being silly and that I didn't need to work. So, if you're truly only here for the Lavender Kitchen fragrance sniff along, then you might want to pick this back up later or like skip ahead because there are timestamps in the caption of this video that will help you go directly to the scent or scents that you want to hear about. But I did want to start with a kind of a preamble, just having come back from a family visit and stuff, and go on a little personal ramble, if that's okay. No one is here to stop me. So here's how it's gone over here holiday wise, and I'm sharing this not to trauma dump exactly. What I had originally imagined was kind of to commiserate, just because I know so many people are struggle during the holidays typically, or like particularly this time, which makes all the sense in the world. I'm holding the little brass Lavender Kitchen mouse like a talisman of sensitive truth telling. So anyway, I have been this past week visiting family in Arizona, and it was I grew up there, and it's a challenging place for me to go back and visit for many reasons, which I don't need to go into. It's kind of obvious. But I wasn't really gonna go. I tend to avoid big holidays because the sense of expectation around them just completely terrifies me, and helping other people overcome their own like psychological stumbling blocks to actually enjoying the things that they presume to greatly enjoy is just a lot of work. And so I'm not like a super holiday Grinch on principle, but I know enough to step back and make sure I have my own good time, if that's the way to have a good time. And that's classically how I do it. But since Galen was going away this time, I decided that I would in fact go do Christmas with my family in Arizona. My family members who I love and who are very welcoming and accepting of me. But this time around, there were also like in-law family members who were also going to be visiting, who are like dedicated old Christian military Trumpers from Texas, okay? They're never gonna watch this video. They don't wanna know anything about me. Like, I'm not really, I don't feel worried that like anyone is really gonna see this. I don't think anyone that I'm related to. The great thing about doing something so embarrassing is that it completely repels the right people. So, uh, I guess it's possible that there are some of you out there watching as maybe the only way to kind of glean a sense of like what I'm doing or what I'm like or whatever, in which case, like, hi, Dad. Uh, I actually don't mind that because I prefer a format where I actually get to speak and I'm not constantly like interrupted or bombarded with inane questions or commentary. If someone manages to stumble upon these videos and kind of get to know me a little bit that way remotely in a way that would not be possible because of the state of our current like relationship. I mean that's the thing I have had to make peace with in order to even broadcast, you know? Like I don't get to pick who watches it. But what I'm saying that just so you it's not like I'm lighting anybody up or whatever. Like these are old people in Texas. They did not they have no idea what I do. But anyway, I was like, you know, this of all years, I did not want to go and deal with that kind of situation. But it was really important to me because we're moving soon and I won't be as close to Arizona. And it might be the last time I get to see my family for that long of a visit for a while. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Galen's going to be gone. I don't want to be home alone for Christmas. That sounds depressing. Let's just go. I'm going to be really brave and do it. And because we kind of live in an area and we have our whole little life where we don't really have to sit down with people like that very often. And I was assured, like, I mean, you know, they're terribly inept and inconsistent in their own resolutions to like and behavior. So I knew that there was a possibility of awkwardness or disagreement or something weird might come up. But I knew that it was probably going to be pretty chill and that they were largely going to ignore me and did not want to know anything about my life or my beliefs or anything. And there's a safety in that, in being ignored. So I went on this trip and it had all the signs of like potentially going really well. But then my sister, bless her, who I was staying with, and who put so much work into hosting and preparing the magic of Christmas for our family members, including the difficult ones, and then also making Christmas beautiful for my nephew, who just turned 8. She is like the linchpin of the hosting situation and the glue that kind of holds the whole picture together. And then on Saturday, she started to get sick, which is terrible and like, you know, very disappointing for her. Makes things harder for everyone really, because again, as the main hosting person, like she's the one kind of coordinating everything and just a buffer between me and these other people. And not only did she get sick, but she just got a wicked cold and it got worse and worse. And man, I really didn't want to get sick and I was doing my best to distance and there was lots of space or whatever. And she was wiping stuff down and being really diligent, but I just knew in my bones it was a chance that it would happen. So overall, like the vibe, like deteriorated so rapidly. You know, people are kind of fending for themselves, like food wise, and just like figuring out what to do because like sometimes she just had to go lay down and it was rough, man. So what's funny is that one of these in-laws, um, like my sister's mother-in-law, then also got sick, like right away. Also like caught the cold, and it was like, okay, things really skidded from there because she's kind of like isolating, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, like I just felt like, you know, marked. I'm like, how am I gonna get out of this without getting sick? So, but we're all doing our best. And to be fair, it's funny too, because what I did, and why this is connected to the perfume video, by the way, is that I did a lot of baking. I did a couple of family cookie recipes from scratch. And these are recipes that require like preparation. And I'm also using my sister's gigantic kitchen where I had room to actually just like push things out of the way and like make it all happen the way I wish I could in my tiny apartment. So, and as I lost myself for hours over the weekend in cookie making, I started to kind of like, I love cooking as a pastime because it's one way that I feel connected with the women in my family and like memories from childhood of my great grandmother and my grandmother and the stuff that I learned from them or the things that I just like the way that I was cared for or the things that they would make. And now with these recipes, I get to make them and present them to other people. And that's really exciting to me. And it's hard not to get my perfectionism involved because I really want to do everything perfect, which again, I recognize as a quality from women in my family. And anyway, it's hard because my nephew wants to like help in the kitchen and I'm kind of like shooing him out or giving him little things to do, but like I'm like, I really don't want this to get messed up, but also trying to remember that it's all for fun and for sharing anyway. And it's just like a lovely kind of bundle of like emotions that I think really is part of where this perfume collection, the Lavender Kitchen, really comes from, is this spirit of sharing that just comes up from somewhere deep and expresses itself through food. And a lot of the specific emotions surrounding it are kind of beautifully indistinct or locked together. This comes up with me when I'm here alone and I'm cooking in the kitchen, and then Disco, sweet little dog, comes trotting into the kitchen excitedly because he's seen me open an egg carton or something and is like, oh, what's in there? Is there something in the kitchen for me? And sometimes I give him a little something, but often I just kind of shoo him out. And in those moments, as silly as it sounds, I really feel that sense of like full circle connection where like Disco is like me as a child, and I'm like coming into the kitchen while my grandmother is making cookies or whatever, and she's like, now is not a good time. Here's something to go do over here. Disco's not a human. This is all projection, but he is like my tiny child, and you know, it's just like a thing that I've noticed where I'm like, oh my gosh, I really kind of like did become that figure in some small, obscure way that is special and meaningful only to me. So I got to have that over the weekend, and I spent hours distracting myself there because I was being a good sport. I couldn't even like call my friends and bitch on the telephone really because I didn't know if anyone could hear me. So I had thought before maybe I would do some live streaming while I was there if I could peel off somewhere and find a quiet corner, but like it was not possible. So it just all came out in the cooking, and I took some cute pictures of the perfumes and stuff. And when the cookies were done, I had that like the lavender apron is a fragrance in this collection that is really unlike all of the food-based fragrances. This is like it's a kind of the scent of the person doing the preparing. And I had this moment after I finished a bunch of stuff where I felt like I had earned my like lavender apron points for the year because I had actually embodied that spirit and made the things and was so excited to share. And then also the escapism of just not having to deal with people was nice. But there were these funny moments where, so like I think Saturday night when things had kind of skidded, maybe Sunday night, and Leah was down for the count, and I went and got Indian food and like made my own dinner and like arranged my own little place setting off on the side, having a glass of wine, eating my Indian food, and just trying to mind my business and pointedly kind of not join the other adult conversation because I did not want to like answer questions or have to feign interest in what other people were doing at all. Like it's just not that kind of party. Everyone is just grubbing and minding their own business, and I'm trying to have a nice little thing. And I watch Papa-in-law kind of like amble through the kitchen and notice the cookies, like, you know, because I had kind of heaped everything into like a big Tupperware. Actually, I'll go get it. Hold that thought. So I had borrowed this big old cracked Tupperware from Leah, and I had filled it with all of the cookies. It was overflowing at the time. It's diminished because I've given a bunch away. But all of the best ones that I wanted to decorate were kind of floating on the top of the pile, and then I had just kind of balanced the lid on like delicately so that it would keep them fresh, you know, until it was time to decorate. And I watched him go by and just notice that the lid was not fully on the Tupperware, and then I just watched him lean forward with both hands and just like pop it down and like cram the lid down on top of the cookies, like absolutely breaking everything that was on the top. And it was funny because again though, it was all like a psychic challenge because I was like resolved to not engage or let like my sensitivities get in the way of having a good time, especially for the family members who I really love. Like everyone needs to have a peaceful Christmas, and I'm gonna be part of that, even if some dildo breaks my fucking best cookies that I spent all afternoon working on. Like, it doesn't matter. They're just gonna get eaten anyway. And I just like kept sipping my wine like nothing happened. And like inside I'm like taking the hit points, but like I actually can handle it. So I just think it's really funny that it's like the sensitive snowflake people who have to weather like a million indignities on a regular basis, and you adapt to surviving means having to just like choose your battles, you know, unless you become hashtag triggered and just like have to like lash out in the moment. But like a lot of people I know who have known sensitivities just get really good at managing them and it's fine. Whereas the other people who sneer about sensitivity are so fragile that they can be undone by like the slightest perceived offense. And that down for the count, out, tending her own illness. And it's funny because at some point she came in to just like chat with everyone, which is totally fine. I'm like trying to like avoid getting sick and like giving space and whatever, but I know that I'm like basically dead man walking. So I'm not like, you know, being a nut about it. But it's funny because she comes in and she has like zero self-awareness and starts just kind of like following around after people trying to like talk to them and stuff, and everyone's kind of like moving away from her. And since we're all at the cookie decorating table by then in the corner in the cookie decorating table, and she kind of like comes over to the cookie decorating table, and then everyone else kind of just like is like politely kind of like keeping space or whatever. And so she's basically situated at the cookie decorating table alone now because everyone has kind of like moved back a polite distance and breathing and just talking and kind of coughing and like good-natured laughing, making small talk about absolutely nothing, like over the cookies. And so I tried to be really nice about it, and I finally come up and I'm like, why don't you come over here? Why don't we get you nice and comfy, like over here, so you can visit under the guise of like, you're not feeling well, like come on over here. And she goes, oh, why? You think I'm contagious? And I go, yes! Like that. Just like that. Big smile, but emphatic. Like, yes, that is what I'm trying to tell you. I think you're contagious. And she was so completely taken aback and immediately just kind of like left the room and went away. And it was a whole big deal that I told her she was contagious because not everyone actually believed, like participated in COVID at the same level as other people did. And so, like, all of us, we're just like very kind of forged in the fire. Or if someone's sickly, like giving space, or if you get in someone's space and they're like, you just respect it. So it was very funny to me that even just like saying like you might be contagious was this huge offense. And so she went and sulked and did not look at me or speak directly to me for the rest of the visit, which I found so liberating. And her husband also completely at that point, like in solidarity or whatever, even though he had privately expressed not wanting to catch her cold, like could not look at me, complained loudly to other people out of my earshot about like how she had been spoken to, made a big deal of coming in on Christmas morning to open presents, saying loudly to everyone, good news, I'm not sick. It was just a little sinus trouble. I'm all better now. Like, and then proceeds to bitch privately about how, just in case anyone's worried, she's contagious. And I thought it was actually so funny to have broken the bubble because I had been on eggshells for days, just like trying not to not be the problem. And then it's like I remembered that it's if someone is determined to find a problem with you, they will find it. Like you cannot avoid it. So you might as well not even bother with the eggshells half the time. I was doing my best to be respectful. But I thought it was so funny because this like magical bubble had burst and I was officially like the villain of Christmas because I had been like, please don't blow your cooties gram all over our cookie table, or all of us for that matter. Like people are like, falling, dropping like flies. Like just try to be aware. And that was just like, it was too much. So what was great about that is that was kind of the prevailing spirit under which I finally, because I had planned to leave on Christmas morning after presents, because it's the easiest time to drive home. And I was like in my velvet caftan and high-heeled boots for the morning Christmas opening because I wanted these people to know, what I'm capable of. Everyone, they're in like sweatpants and I'm just like, It's Christmas, bitch. So, and it was great because I just got to gather my things and pack up the car and then just like blow off into the West. And it was so incredibly liberating. I did manage to rescue a wonderful amount of beautiful cookies. Got some squirrels here that I made that are like holding a little heart. I guess I shouldn't hold them by the head. I appear to not have gotten sick miraculously, uh, so that's lucky. I've got some beautiful like little goblin faces that we made and like some little stacked star gingerbreads. These are the shortbread diamonds from, we did a perfume based on them last year, and then they're dipped in like a peppermint bark. So I got to have my cookies, I got to see my family, I got to spread fucking Christmas magic to the people who were receptive to it, and then I got to blow out of there. But the entire time I was just so humbled because I remembered that this is what it's like out there for a lot of people all the time. People that I know, people that I'm close with, like live in these similar, conditions of fragility and restraint and whatever, like all the time. And that made me really grateful for the family that I've managed to make for myself. And there's a lot of times when Galen and I feel really isolated and we don't have a lot of family connection. And then I remember that like, that's fine because we've like made a good life for ourselves. It made me really excited and energized because we're moving to Minneapolis soon, and it made me really excited about that because I realized that I was dealing with people who incidentally are miserable. They hate everything. Everything that they profess to love and believe in and connect with is completely crumbles in their hands constantly. There's always some enemy. There's always something to hate on. And so it was just really amazing because I got to come back home and be like, I like my life. I love the way that I am. I love the way I get to be with people. I love that I get to actually connect with people as myself and share my thoughts and feelings and like receive other people's. And it is just like a beautiful way to spend life. And the people out there who have this like moral compunction, this sense of superiority and this patronizing way of believing that they know better about how life should be overall for everyone, but especially for you, like they can't even live in it and be happy. It just disintegrates constantly, and it's helping them through it is exhausting for everyone around them. And so it just made me really grateful heading into like a tough year for queer and trans and gay people and everybody, like all of the fill in the blank people, basically everyone who is being looked at a little harder or whose struggles are suddenly being like exploited to motivate people to do harm. I was like, to have gotten to live and be yourself and really just be part of life is so tremendous. It's like the one thing that people, if you live that way all the way up until the end, then you got to live, and that is an incredible thing. That is like that is its own amazing reward. So that is kind of my lengthy preamble. I came back feeling so whipped up and excited, like just to be able to, first of all, the job that we have at the lab, like making these things is incredible. The fact that anyone cares and that people sustain our business is just amazing. Being able to deliver products like these specifically with the Lavender Kitchen, where I smell them, and thanks to Beth's wizardry, like they smell exactly like the description. And so I know that anyone who bought one of these hoping that it would smell like the thing is going to be satisfied, very happy. Like when I got this box in the mail and I smelled the kitchen mouse fragrance and the lavender apron one, I cried because I just had this sense of knowing what kind of emotional pressure there was on these fragrances to deliver the promised feeling. And it was just right there in the little bottle. And then on top of that, for me personally, to get to have, you know, this as a outlet and to go and put my face out here and talk to people and to share my voice and to have even a small audience of people who think that I'm tolerable or entertaining or sweet or funny or cute or whatever, uh, is so magical because being in that environment reminded me what it's like to be completely deprived of that, which is how I grew up and is how a lot of people grow up and many people still just live every day. It's horrible. People should be nicer to you. People should know how interesting you are. They should know how cute you are. And what's funny is the truth is that it's actually for the best that they can't see it. Aside from the part where they all want to like gang up and eradicate us, but like it's for the best. Like you don't need that. You don't need attention from the wrong people. You don't need to impress these people. There was a moment where I was taking a kitchen mouse bottle photo with my cookie mess, and one of them came in and was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm taking a picture for work." And they were like, "Hmm," and then just like left. There was like no question about it. Nothing that I was doing was interesting. Nothing that I said elicited any follow-up question. Complete absence of interest. And once upon a time, that would have offended me because I would have wanted the validation of being like, actually, I am interesting. But it was actually just a huge relief in some ways to just be forsaken and to have it be mutual. I'm like, I don't actually want to get to know you either. I don't think you're interesting. I don't think that your self-imposed martyrdom is meaningful or accomplishes anything. I don't think, you know, I don't want to get into like a whole yelling at them thing. It was just amazing because I felt that once upon a time I would have had to struggle to, I think, rise above it. And this time, earlier on, I just had this magical reminder that I am above it and that I get to live there. And that is its own beautiful thing. So I have now talked for 28 minutes exactly about personal stuff. What if, there's going to be one more short anecdote. What if I actually smelled some lavender perfumes? How about that? I thank you for listening because I've really been holding it in, as you can tell. And if Galen was here, there is absolutely no way I think he would have sat and listened to me say all of that without throwing a bag over my head or hitting me with a tranquilizer dart or something. Just knock over the tripod. So, this series, The Lavender Kitchen, there's a little preamble of text, a little prelude, prequel, prepitaph, prologue, a pre-thing at the beginning that just describes the beautiful dreamlike state of loving someone and having that manifest through like food. And what I think is great is a lot of these, they tend to be desserty because of course that's very easy and it's going to be popular, but we've tried to include an interesting range of types of food delicacy. Like last year, I think it was the lavender sea salt baguette one. This year we've got a lavender avocado toast. Just like a range of things. It's not necessarily about drowning somebody in sweets. It's just about like the weird, comforting, nourishing aspect. And then the lavender is a through line that creates this soporific or dreamlike effect. In addition to lavender being delicious, generally as a flavor, some of these are dishes that are, you know, I think more common or approachable. Like the starter one here, we're going alphabetically on the site. the blueberry lavender lemon crepes. Like, this is a dish that someone could make. I have made it. The description says limoncello-soaked blueberries nestled between layers of golden crepe, topped with a splort of lavender whipped cream and sprinkled with tiny curls of lemon zest. Like, that's like a real thing that someone could have. Some of these are a little more obscure. Like, I don't know if anyone's really making a lavender figgy pudding. You could. Uh, but you get what I mean. Like, I like for Beth, I think it's a fun perfumer challenge because some of these are blends that lavender would find itself in or fit in more naturally than others. And for some of the odder ones, I think that's like a fun perfumer challenge because weirdly it ends up selling it, like recommending it as a real food. And now I do actually want to try to make a lavender avocado toast. So let's sniff the blueberry lavender lemon crepes. Pardon my dreadful hiccups. So this is like there's a beautiful soft lavender. I want to say, if it's not listed, but I almost get like a powdered sugar note. Um, Part of why I think it's okay that I talked so much is that for a lot of these, it's just going to be the review is it smells like the description. Like, that's it. You read it and then you smell it and you're like, ah, yes, that. Beautiful, delicate, purple tinged. The blueberry is present, but not like super like goopy blueberry candy. It's just like beautifully restrained. Like, you can just kind of track through this, like go through it like a rosary, like touching every single one of these notes and finding all of them. So it is delicate and it reads as foodie. The lavender, if this was a dish you were eating and the lavender was present in the dish to the extent that it is in the scent, I think that would be appropriate and acceptable. I know on like the Great British Baking Show, they always have problems with people who do flour infusions in their baking and food because it's often too strong or not there at all. So this is lavender in a proportion that I would find palatable food wise. Just like enough of a tartness from the lemon to kind of give the berry a little burst and to kind of cut the edge of the sweetness so that it doesn't go fully just, you know, I guess just like sticky one note sweet. It just has a kind of a lavender haze like around it. I'm not getting a really strong cream note on the skin. That might be one that hangs around and that a half an hour from now I would be able to detect more of because it's a kind of a subtle note and it's competing with some stronger notes such as lavender, blueberry, and lemon. But there is just like a kind of a delicious smoothness to this. And the crepe part is just a kind of a lovely golden griddle baked note. It's kind of like with the funnel cake scent. I mean, I think those are actually stronger. I didn't think that the funnel cake and the Please Scream fragrance we released recently was super strong. And this kind of reminds me of that. It's there, but it's not just like the smell of like the parking lot outside of the IHOP, you know, where it's like the really strong smell. Just a lovely little playful, light, and sweet scent. Um, Cutting any kind of berry situation with a little lemon is always so nice because it gives you like the tanginess of the real fruit flavor, but often the sourness that in like a blueberry is often from an underripe blueberry. So you kind of get the tartness that you would want without like the underripe aspect. What else do I do that with? I always do that if I'm cooking with like strawberries or whatever. It's just like an old trick to add a little lemon juice to bring out to make it feel less like old fruit that's just been like boiled until dead and then like sugared into some other foreign concoction, just to bring back a little of that lively fruit sparkle. So I haven't tried on hazelnut lavender latte. I say out loud to myself, so I will catch it during the timestamping. I haven't tried this on yet. There were already a couple of coffee scents that we'd had, and I didn't, um, I was like, I'll get there. I knew I would have to film this video eventually and talk about it. It says, perk up and relax at the same time. A steamy shot of espresso spiked with hazelnut syrup and crowned with pale purple foam. Again, this sounds like a completely reasonable thing to that you could see at the like written on the whiteboard at a fancy coffee shop. So try to keep my blueberry finger far from the bottle. Whew, this is a stronger coffee right in the bottle. I felt it touch my nose. It's all over now. Stronger coffee in the bottle. Maybe it's just because I was smelling something so light and soft and sweet a moment ago that the coffee is actually quite bracing. I'm worried that as I smell these, that the lavender will be the common note that will kind of fade into the background because it's consistent throughout all. But what's funny about that is the way I would normally combat that is to sniff coffee, and I'm sniffing coffee in the perfume. So I'm just gonna put it on because I'm definitely getting a kind of a nutty, toasty hazelnut coffee situation and not much lavender, and I'm just gonna see if I can get there on the skin. Wow. So what's interesting is the main thing that I'm noticing right away is this is not as sweet as, first of all, it's not as sweet as I might expect any sort of lavender latte to be in real life, because coffee shops tend to be really cowardly with this, and anytime they do a rose or a lavender, you will notice that they make it so sweet to, like, you know, just to make sure that it's palatable, and they'll err on the side of making it super sweet, which I always find unfortunate because that's just not, it's just like, it's too much. This is actually really beautiful because you get like it's like that ground, like roasted coffee smell. And it just kind of shines with this lavender light. And the lavender is getting stronger on the skin as it's settling down. It is milky, but it's not too milky. I thought it was going to be sweeter and way creamier, and I actually like this better because I just knew that so many of these fragrances were going to be potentially really sweet and light. So having something that is more robust and full-bodied is great. And also, I can't remember ever smelling a lavender coffee scent before, and it works so much better than I would have expected. This is reminding me, because of the combination of like the herbal floral and the coffee, it's reminding me a little bit of the cafe meal scent from Only Lovers Left Alive. That one has a lot more going on in the background, like spice market wise, I think. But this, it really, the thing, I love that, where it says, perk up and relax at the same time. That really does feel like there's like a kind of a energizing hit because of the sharpness, but then it's undeniably mellow, and then that lavender really does kind of create a kind of a peaceful cloud. Beautiful. I'm so glad I waited for this. Like, I am just so grateful that it's not sweeter, because I feel like it would have been a little generic. We're gonna move on. Okay, so Lavender Apron is here. I don't think that I made it home with that one from my trip. And the reason why it's likely that I didn't is because I kept it out and I smelled it so much and I wore it all the time. It was like the way that so people in my family are more sensitive to fragrances, and I really try to do my best to be respectful when I'm there. But since my sister like couldn't smell anything anyway, I felt a little more permission. So I wore the Lavender Apron quite a lot, especially after I made my cookies. Ka-ching, ka-ching, unlocked my Lavender Apron points. And then, so I can talk to you for a moment about this fragrance, even though I don't have it here to review. And I will say that in the bottle, first of all, It really reminds me, it is like the cotton that I love from the Sheet Ghost blends. But it is softer, and because of the combination of the cotton and the lavender, it is like really pretty fresh out of the bottle, um, and like fresh on the skin. Like it has like this like it's quite strong. The throw is really intense. It's just like a really like fresh kind of like wave of fragrance, and then it really calms down and becomes like this is comparable to the She Coast experience where it has this like lovely softness. And it says in the description of Lavender Apron that it says a sturdy but soft lavender cotton twill, lightly flower and sugar dusted, with deep pockets full of kitchen mysteries. So I know that's vague. I will say that like and it's calming down and it's just kind of lovely and soft and fluffy, and there is a kind of like that flour or sugar, like it never goes really sweet. It's just not a straight fabric smell though. It does have this kind of lovely quasi gourmand attribute that makes it extremely comforting. And there's that lovely sense of potential of like something coming out of the kitchen. And then in terms of pockets full of kitchen mysteries, like there's just nothing to be afraid of there. I don't know if there might be some extra thing in there. I haven't asked Elizabeth. If you're afraid that there's like going to be like surprise, mugwort or black pepper or something random, I don't know. All I know is it really settles into that strange, emotional, like sense of being enfolded or embraced that is so common in some of the scents that we've done in the past, like particularly for the Liliths in terms of the cottony, the cottony lavender quasi gourmand experience. So I just like have been addicted to it, and I'll put it on and I'll start smelling it and I'll be like, oh my gosh, Galen, you'll have to smell this. And him 6 feet away will be like, oh, I can smell it. I can completely smell it already. But he does really love it. I went instinctively to smell my wrist like it's there. That's how much I've fallen in love with this fragrance. So maybe I'll do a dedicated solo smell on Instagram or something later, but I don't have it here. And if my sister manages to find it, then I hope maybe she'll actually enjoy it because she needs it and deserves it. Even though, if she's ever talking to me after I went on YouTube and live streamed talking shit about her in-laws. This is what happens when you invite queers to Christmas. So let us move on then from that to the lavender avocado toast, which I know folks are curious about. I know we have done, where is it? There it is. It's being hoarded by this mouse. We've done an avocado note before, so people should have expected this from us. And there's obviously some continuity with the lavender baguette from last time around with the Lavender Kitchen, so I'm curious. I don't have them side by side, but someone will and will be able to comment and tell us how they measure up together. It says, a toasted slice from the middle of a springy, oaty loaf, blessed with a rich green schmear and sprinkled with lemon juice and lavender sea salt. So in the bottle, since it's just a lavender sea salt, you might expect that this is like maybe a less lavender forward fragrance than some of the others. And again, maybe I'm just going a little blind, but I think that's correct. Like it is detectable, but it's not like overpowering out of the bottle. This is one of those scents that smells just beautifully yeasty and savory and salty. But there definitely is this cool, creamy green avocado note, which kind of like helps it, because the saltiness, I guess, could maybe go a little mineralic, like overall, but it's very tempered by having, oh, I just touched my nose again with the bottle. I've got to stop that. And then the lavender is just this kind of beautiful ghost that just hangs out around it. I love perfumes like this with gourmands where the sweetness comes not from like, I mean, I love like bonfire toffee and all the sticky, sweet, goopy marshmallow childhood fantasy gross out blends. Like, I love those. I wear them a lot. However, I also really appreciate a foodie fragrance that has a gentle sweetness or a subtle sweetness. It's the kind that makes you kind of lean in and hunt for it a little bit. And it's that sniffing, teasing it out, I think, instead of just being clobbered by it, that actually makes some of these fragrances so intoxicating and beguiling, because they kind of lure you in, like smelling something cooking in the next room. So, okay. There's something about the avocado here that is so fresh, and it reminds me that in our neighborhood, because we have avocado trees in the neighborhood, and every now and then you see one just laying on the ground in the gutter that fell there, but often they're just completely gouged and scratched at because the squirrels eat them. And just the idea of being a squirrel who gets to gorge on a whole avocado is so decadent. If only the people in California were given the same opportunities to feel comfort and fullness as our rodent population. So this isn't as bready on the skin as it is in the bottle, which is probably for the best, because it is completely detectable and extremely comforting. Soft, springy. It's like all of everything you love about a marshmallow scent, except for minus the sugariness, if that makes sense. But truly, that's that sense of the, you know, um, just like that dense squishiness. It's also, again, it's just like it's like slightly salty. And I think that lemon zing also helps temper the salt. There's just a little bit of a citrus fresh, a little bit of salt, a little bit of citrus. It's a beautifully foodie scent if you know what it is that you're smelling. But I could see this being like, if I just smelled this on somebody's neck, I would just think that they are beautiful. You know, it kind of transcends the food fantasy, because things like avocado are not like a note that people, I think, trace to fragrance. So it's fun when you play in scents that are not like as readily identifiable. Like the one that I love, the XXX means kisses from the Dr. Caligari one, where it's like shea and hibiscus and a few other things which are not like really strong scent notes that people recognize. People who have only a very casual common understanding of scent notes are not necessarily going to track those notes. No one's going to be like, you smell like hibiscus. It's just a beautiful fragrance. That's what this is doing in a more gourmand way. It has a like very light sweetness, and it's just like that great marriage of the savory and the like very lightly sweet. It doesn't smell like, you're just not going to smell like a kitchen exactly. Some of the baked good scents really just have that like fresh out of the oven smell, and this is just so cool. It's just like very restrained and kind of elegant, I guess. Right? Yeah. So weirdly, the lemon is kind of hanging out like a little longer than even some of the bread. I don't know. Maybe that could just be my skin too. I'm really curious if folks have smelled the lavender avocado toast. I want to know what you thought. I know that there are freaks out there who saw that and immediately bought it. And you're having thoughts. And you don't have to ever trouble me if you bought something and you are not a fan of it, or you're planning on passing it along to someone else, because fragrance is personal. So if you know, you don't have to be. I love that people are not nasty about stuff in the comments, usually. But I don't want you to think that you just have to only say nice things about the fragrances, because sometimes people get something and it was like, that's not for me, and here's why. And that is useful information for other people who are thinking about buying the same fragrance. I learn as much from the negative reviews about what I might want as I do from the positive ones. Like if someone's like, I thought I would like this, but it ultimately had way too much rose for me. That's usually something that makes me think, oh, I should try that. So We're all just learning from each other. I'm gonna move on now to lavender figgy pudding. Full disclosure, I am not a figgy pudding eater in real life. I've never eaten a figgy pudding. I would not recognize a figgy pudding if I saw one in a police lineup. But it says, we won't go until we get some. Get it? Because we won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. Dense and chewy, lively with spices, and sticky with figs, boiled in wine, decorated with pomegranate seeds and dried lavender petals. I mean, that sounds amazing. It's selling me on the idea of figgy pudding. Not knowing anything about a figgy pudding, I'm gonna imagine that they are all that good. I'm gonna free up a little skin. Oh, I didn't even, okay, well, that'll chill on the skin. I didn't smell it in the bottle yet. I just kind of went for it. Oh, okay, so this is one, for the first time so far in the series, really rich, really decadently foody. Like, lively with spices is completely correct, and sticky. Like, it has that like rich, like caramelized depth of flavor, while also going in like these other directions. You've got like this like burst of the pomegranate, and you've got the it's not super lavendery on in the bottle. I can detect it. It's nice. It is kind of just like hanging out like the dried petals. That's a nice little garnish. But this is truly about like the dense, heavy, sticky, rich fantasy. On the skin is where I get the wine, which is interesting. I mean, I'm sure that was contributing to what I was smelling in the bottle, but on the skin is where it really steps forward. I have been on a journey with wine and grape fragrances, which for the longest time were kind of off limits to me, and now we're getting there. A fig and wine with spices and pomegranate situation is just so classically like one of my favorite Christmas movies is The Lion in Winter with Katharine Hepburn and as Eleanor of Aquitaine, and they're all having a big Christmas court, and it's like, you know, medieval England, and everything is terrible, and the food is very decadent for them, but like as an onlooker, you're just like, wow, um, like times is tough. There, but this is like straight out of, it seems like a medieval recipe book, and it really has that smell where it's just like you can hear the, you know, the fife or whatever. There's a jester capering around in the background. Beautiful, beautiful. I will say on the skin now, it's like the lavender pomegranate wine is like they're kind of coalescing together to take this into like a fruity floral herbal area. But you're never gonna fully get over the fig. But like the fig and was it dates? Did it say? No, it's just figs, not dates. Kind of creates like a nice dark, rich base for it, and then the other ones are kind of playing on top. Quite nice, quite nice. Okay, that brings us, boy, we're getting there. We got a few left. Lavender Kitchen Mouse. Okay, so Lavender Kitchen Mouse. It says lavender cotton candy fur and vanilla popcorn balls sent skittering out of the kitchen with a good-natured wave of our polished wood rolling pin. So this is like the description. It's like basically our long-lost mouse circus, lavender edition. We got this beautiful photograph of our brass kitchen mouse, who now, I'm so glad, has been like sitting on the shelf over here for probably like 6 years and not really managed to do much, and now gets to be memorialized on this lavender kitchen mouse label. So the real test is, because I know that people were going to be coming to this fragrance with a lot of expectations because of their deep and abiding love for Mouse Circus. And if it deviated too much from the formula in any way, there would be laments arising from across the land. And from the moment I opened this and smelled it, I was just overjoyed because it's right there, baby. It's exactly the mouse circus that I remember. And then there is this unmistakable, I feel that Mouse Circus was missing lavender all along. Truly. It's so beautiful. It's so like uplifting. There's just something about it that just there's like a kind of a lovely warm giddiness to it. And yet it is so soothing. It has that childlike sense of excitement related to the popcorn and the atmosphere. It reminds me of going to the Bob Baker Marionette Theater because the shows that they have there, like the whole room is created to like give that feeling in addition to what happens on the stage, and then everyone gets ice cream afterward. This is that spirit. And the lavender is just simply not overkill. It is just like something that should maybe have been there all along and then kind of just propels the scent in a slightly different direction. And it gives just like for anyone who actually loves lavender or has some emotional connection to it, it's just enough to provide this beautiful additional feeling. It just beautifully, elegantly frames the scent, a familiar scent. I'm so excited that this is here. I hear Disco whimpering. Disco? It could have been something outside. He's just jealous because he doesn't get to smell the kitchen mouse. This is that scent, incidentally. Like this and the apron one together are the one that, it's like the experience I was talking about earlier, where like the embodiment of like the maker in the kitchen versus the embodiment of like the child recipient of that making. The apron and the kitchen mouse scents really to me represent the different sides of that relationship. And because there is just kind of this like youthful, joyful excitement in the kitchen mouse scent. I just know that it feels really good to come back with this because people have been so sad about the other one not being available anymore. So, damn. Okay. Well, I could get lost there forever, but I do have a couple more to smell really quick. We've got the Lavender LUSSEKATTER, which is, well, I'll just read it. Lavender LUSSEKATTER, it says, a gently floral twist on the famous Swedish saffron buns baked for the feast day of Santa Lucia. They're curly S-shapes, baked golden. So I have never had these before. I love a saffron. I don't know how... I was kind of shocked because like just smelling this in the bottle, I don't know if I expected it to be sweeter, but it's exciting that it's not because yet again, it's cool to have something that's a little more less clobber you with a sugar bomb and more, I guess, provocative in terms of luring you into a lavender gourmand experience that's not just like the over sugared, you know, lavender latte. The $10 over-sugared lavender latte. It definitely has... Okay, so the saffron scent threads together with the lavender in a really interesting way. I just bopped myself in the nose with it. I don't know what it is today. I don't even know where my nose is. It is beautifully more savory than like coming back from the figgy pudding or the even maybe even a little more savory than the avocado. There's just a kind of a light, a lovely, like savory sweet spice to it. Let's get it on the skin. Maybe I'll be able to figure out a little bit more. Oh. Oh, wow. Like I really get this like color in my head of like a really kind of like orangey golden bake. It's orangey and golden, saffron coming through. Lavender, truly, I mean, it is akin to the lavender, like the more dried one. Did it even say? It just says gently floral twist. It doesn't really talk about how the lavender is incorporated. It's amazing to me how something, if you have two different like lavender bready scents, how different they can really be. And you've got this other one that is just kind of cool and creamy and springy, and then this one, which is just kind of a whole different color palette, a whole different texture. It really seems like instead of like light and springy, it has that kind of like dense, like almost like crustiness to it. And then it's got something that I want to say, I think it's just the way the lavender and the saffron mingle together, but it reminds me of almost like a cumin or some other savory spice, but not to a point where I feel like I am not smelling like a curry or anything. There's just something really magically, I want to layer it maybe with the figgy pudding or the coffee scent to get a sense of that like spice market environment. I have never found, Galen I think was the one who was into the saffron scents, but I've never really found one that I really flipped for. So I'm gonna dig a few out maybe this week and go on a saffron journey in fragrance. Just incredible. Just much more of like a beautiful, straightforward, like baked good with just kind of a, you know, obviously if you're shopping in the Lavender Kitchen fragrance collection, you're going to end up with some lavender. It shouldn't be shocking to you when you're like, wait a second, this smells more like lavender than I expected. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, yes, literally. It's in there. There are just so many interesting ways to do that though. I'm gonna just like bring it on home with the lavender prickly pear shaved ice because that is the last one, and then we'll be done. I've already passed the hour mark. I spent the first half of this video ranting about my like strange family Christmas experience. But I feel like I needed to talk with people who I felt were prepared to appreciate and understand what I was talking about. Like, and you know what? The great thing is, it's all done. It's all done. Oh, someone says that my earrings are also lavender saffron. Yes, they are. Big yarn poofs, lavender saffron. Lavender prickly pear is runnels of darkly translucent purple syrup sinking into a dome of creamy fine snow scrapings. I felt this description all the way to my bones. I'm a shave ice aficionado. I've never had a lavender prickly pear shaved ice, but I can see it in my brain and I feel like I know exactly what the experience would be like. And anything that takes me that much closer to it, you know, I feel like I'm being prepared for maybe one day a true, proper. I know you can buy like a prickly pear syrup, and we already have like a bottle of lavender syrup. So I wonder if I could really do this on my own. I just need like the Snoopy snow cone machine that my parents would never let me have. Okay, let's get in there. I feel like, I don't know what Galen's catchphrase would be from doing these videos, but if I had one, let's get in there might be a good one. Okay. Okay, so I'm in love with prickly pear everything. I like nopales in like Mexican food. I like the fruit. Prickly pear everything as far as I'm concerned. It's really exciting to have a kind of a fruit scent in here that is not as like the blueberry was very, very, very nice, but this is so different. It is very, there's like a beautiful chili purple fruity scent here going on with the lavender. Just gonna put it on. I'm just gonna put it on. I want to see questions I have. How frozen is it? How much can you tell the lavender and the prickly pear apart? Does my enjoyment of one interfere with my enjoyment of the other? So this is one of those things where this is like a frozen dessert for grown-ups because, you know, you can't really give a child a lavender shaved ice. You can act like you're trying to expand their palate, you know, and oh, just try it, you know, and then you can like tell all your friends how sophisticated your kid is because they actually tried this thing. We've all been there. But this is ultimately, if you're eating a lavender prickly pear shaved ice, you are a grown up, you have credit cards, you have a whole life, and yeah, this rewards like an adventurous adult palate. It's not overly sweet. It's like the fruit overall, it's almost like it's like a more realistic fruit scent, and the lavender is really complementary with that. And it isn't like really, really sticky sweet. And then whatever is in there that's making it like a frozen dessert. This is really hard to, that I have like met my match in terms of just describing a scent. I'm definitely getting a chill. It could be the same chill that's in the vintage Snow Clown blow mold. It's not really easy to tell because they're such different fragrances. The lavender here, because the prickly pear is so juicy and purple, the lavender here is going almost green, if that makes sense. Like that's where the contrast is starting to emerge between them. Lavender is always has a little bit of greenness to it, but if it's the most purple thing in a thing, then it's gonna seem mad purple, yo. Whereas in something that's already very dark purple, the lavender I think will stand out as kind of a more of a green component. This is going to be so valuable to have in the summertime when things are hot outside and everything is stressful because we're 6 months ahead in everything that is currently already happening. So like a nice, cool lavender scent that has a beautiful touch of Southwestern delicacy to it. Just really, really excellent. It's kind of like the hazelnut latte one where I'm honestly just a little surprised that it's not sweeter. But then the great thing about having a lot of BPAL to draw from is if I want it to be sweeter, I have means. Like I have that blackberry and oud that I wear a lot from a few years ago from Lunacy's, and that would pair with this so beautifully just in terms of like playing with the purple color palette and then bringing out more fruit. Because as it is, the prickly pear is not like a really strong, dominant, like statement fruit, like your blueberry, you know? Um, oh, it's like just impressively delicate, and I want to say like, I mean, I don't know how if Galen was here, maybe he could smell it from 6 feet away, like with the apron, but it is just kind of beautifully delicate and constrained, and like I said, adult, grown-up dessert shop treat. I feel like I can almost smell like the paper cup that this would come in. That's what I mean, like there's just like delicate, relatively like delicate notes. What a great note to end on, especially because I feel like if I'd ended with figgy pudding, it would have just been like a knock on the head. I feel like this is the prickly pear one is like aftercare for the journey that we've been on together. So I have been speaking to you now for almost 69 minutes. I will try to hop on again. We have so many different fragrances that we could sniff still from the Yule stuff. We've just been kind of getting through it as best we can, and the holidays kind of took a bite out of everything. I hope that everyone is coping marvelously. Everyone, I've been hearing from people left and right that everyone has been getting sick because that's just how it goes during the holidays. So I hope you will take care of yourself, give yourself the space and that you need to get better. If you're sick, give others the space they need to not get sick. Yes, yes, I think you're contagious. Why is this a controversial thing to say to somebody who is like snotting around? I'm just gonna be, I mean, I'm through the other side of it at this point, and I'm gonna be laughing about this probably for the rest of my life. That I managed to, with one word, a simple affirmation of a fear that they voiced of mine, that I completely undid everything and became someone that they hope to never meet again. And it is just such a delightfully mutual feeling that, and it is so much nicer and so refreshing to have it out in the open and be like, you know what? This person will think twice before they accept an invitation to go to an event that I will be attending. And it's over the silliest possible thing, but in a way, that's what just makes it so easy. Because if you can't roll with someone over the silliest little things, how in the hell do you ever expect to deal with any of the hard stuff? Completely a waste of time. Washing our hands of it forever. Ooh, washing your hands. Now, that would be a good thing to do if you're not feeling well. So I free you to the rest of your Boxing Day challenges, and I hope that you will tune in with us again soon. And I would like to hear if people are smelling the Lavender Kitchen and if it's giving them feelings, or just, you know, story time would be nice because Galen's not back for a few days and I got nothing to do but hang out and chew the fat with my fellow Lavender Kitchen mice. So, squeak, squeak, motherfucker.